Hi guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to wainscot your wall from start to finish. This is everything you're going to need to complete this entire wainscoting accent wall from start to finish. Everything is listed in the order you're going to need it. Like always, all the product links will be in the description below so you know where to find everything you need. For this particular design, I didn't map out a blueprint in advance. I'm just measuring out the border pieces because I'm going to be putting in the frame first and the diamonds will go in second. And this is the blueprint I'm going to try and mimic. I made all of my cuts for this project using this electric saw. It's very easy to use for beginners. I highly recommend it. I dispense a little bit of this construction adhesive to every MDF board before I nail it into the wall, just for some flexibility and a little bit of forgiveness. Once I'm happy with where it is, I take my nail compression gun and just nail in the MDF for the extra security because these pieces are much larger. If you had smaller pieces like my last design, you can get away with just construction adhesive, but for this particular design, I recommend using a nail gun. So this particular wall is actually quite wide and the MDF was quite short for it, so you'll see that I've actually had to use many pieces or a couple pieces to make each line in the design, and there's nothing wrong with that because we're going to use our Drydex and wood filler or silicone, whatever you have, to seal those and give it a beautiful seamless finish. Planning and drafting a blueprint of this diamond design was probably the hardest and most overwhelming step, but definitely a very important one that you shouldn't rush or overlook, because the better you plan your design and map out your design, it'll be a lot easier for you to actually install the MDF. I couldn't figure out how to start and space the lines and angles accurately to get the exact same diamond and all that kind of stuff. So after a lot of struggling, I decided to go ahead with some painter's tape and just do a rough draft on the wall itself, as it's a lot more forgiving and easy to play around with as opposed to nailing in some MDF. Once I was happy with how the lines are sitting and how the diamonds are spaced out, I went ahead and just penciled in those lines so that I can use that as a template to install the MDF later. And then here I'm just patiently measuring, cutting, and installing the MDF casing along the lines that I had taped up. You want to take your time to make sure you're measuring accurately. You'll also notice that I'm working from the top right corner of the wall towards the bottom left corner. This way I can get the larger pieces done and out of the way, and then move into the smaller cuts afterwards. If you're messy like me, this damp rag is very important. I just use this to wipe off any of the construction adhesive that kind of oozes onto the wall when I push down on the casing, allowing for a much nicer and professional finish. From the bottom left corner of the wall to the top right corner of the wall. This step was quite easy because we had already went ahead and penciled everything in, so those pencil marks were still there, and we were just able to go ahead and just measure each one of those lines, cut them, and then install them into the design. I recommend going in and individually measuring every single line once again, just using the penciling that we already did, because not all walls are even and leveled, so you may be a little frustrated if you go ahead and pre-cut everything and then you're just off by a couple millimeters or so. Once the wainscoting is complete, you're going to take some Drydex or wood filler to just fill in all of the joints and the gaps. Anywhere where 2 pieces of MDF casing meet, you're going to use this filler. Don't use too much because you do have to sand the excess off. If you have an electric sander, it'll be easier, but if you just have a sanding sponge, don't go too overboard. Once your Drydex has dried, give it a good sand. Make sure you have a nice smooth surface to work with because you will be painting over this. The smoother it is, the nicer your finish will be at the end. And then take some time to carefully silicone between all the seams of the MDF and the wall, and just seal it with your finger or a popsicle stick. Let that dry for half an hour and then you're ready to paint, which is optional. You can just keep this white, that will look great as well. But my friend wanted to go for this deep teal color. Wainscoted wall for under $100. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe.